So, hello and welcome to the Exiles podcast. This is a podcast we talk all things Newport County, and today I'm joined by the regulars. But obviously, as you can see, we have a very special guest on today, Newport County legend, former Exiles captain, and Great Escape hero, Mark O'Brien. Mark? How you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. Thanks yourself.
Yeah, good. So, how's lockdown been treating you? Obviously, now in the fire break lockdown now. How have you been?
Yeah, not been too bad. It hasn't really hindered me in anything that I've been doing. Obviously, after coming into the retirement and stuff like that, I still go out and do me nightly walks that I'm supposed to do. The lads are still in training and stuff, so I still go in and help around there, and I do the commentary for all the home games. So it hasn't really hindered me. So I've been lucky enough that I can kind of keep myself in a routine and kind of keep my head feeling a bit more sane than what I have been over the last while.
Oh, that sounds all good. And as you've been keeping close with all the squad and everything that's been happening recently and still keeping a good eye on them, who has impressed you the most at the start of the season with the good form that the squad's in?
Do you know what? Sometimes, we were only talking about it, and we speak about it on a weekly basis. It's tough to put your finger on one player that's been outstanding, or it's because everybody collectively as a team has grasped the whole new style of play, as they like to call it, from playing out from the back. But in hindsight, we've always had them players here that can do that. I think it's just a matter of growing confidence, and the more confidence we've got, the better we are getting in that system, and the more teams are changing their ways to come at us. But I also think, for my opinion, someone who caught my eye a lot was between Scott Twine. I've played against Shepherd before. He's a good player. He's been quality for us. But Brandon Cooper really caught my eye. Obviously me being a centre back as well, but he's somebody who's honestly, I thought first off, you see him, he looked like he's comfortable on the ball at his feet. So he's coming from a Swansea background. Is he going to be a centre back that's going to be really good with his feet? But when you have to dig in League Two and put your head about, are you going to actually really have that other side to him? And literally, he, in a way, has surprised me, because when you try and think of the background he's come from, but he wins his headers, he knows when to defend properly, he knows when to put it into row Z. And like I said, I've been so impressed with him, and he's just fitted right into a back three that, for a young lad of his age, to come back in and to be there, he's never missed a game for Newport. He's been here years. He's been brilliant.
Obviously, the squad's got a lot of potential at the moment. It is quite a young squad, but do you also think there might be enough experience in this team to end up, the right side of the table?
Yeah, I 100% think that. We know it's been an amazing start, and we know that everything has been going so well. But all of this is a big accumulation over the last 3.5, 4 years since the manager took over, and the work that him, Wayne Hatswell, and people along the way have done. Obviously, you go from, as you say, the Great Escape to then making a playoff final. Then last season was kind of a bit up and down and a bit all over the place. But then something this season has just clicked. And I know that I laugh about it, but most of them say the reason it's clicked is because I was holding them back all these years. So my retirement has helped the team. But in all fairness, it's near enough. You don't get many teams that could nearly field the core of a squad for 4 seasons straight, because you've got Mickey still there, you've got Matty Dolan, Scott Bennett, you've got Padraig, you've got Robbie Wilmot, you've got all these players that have been here from the ups and the downs, and to be able to add to that, and that's enough experience in itself for when you've had 4 seasons at Newport, that when you're adding all these young players on top of that with Scott Twine and Brandon and people like that and Seiko, it is a great recipe for success.
Yeah, you spoke about Matty Dolan there with his experience. How well do you think he has adapted to playing centre half now? Because obviously he played centre mid all his career, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's loved every minute of it, and it's something where when me and Matty, obviously we spoke about it, and he was saying oh well, I might be in centre back, the manager's thinking about putting me there. I said it to him. I said, because he has a midfielder's mind, but playing in a deeper role, he can see everything and he reads the game so well. So we used to have a centre midfielder in there, even for the Great Escape years. We had Scott Bennett in there. And that proves that it's not just because he's a midfielder, he's going to only think attacking wise. He's very tactically aware of what his position should be. And obviously, as a centre back, he's learning a bit more on when to squeeze, when to drop a bit deeper, and all stuff like that. But that's only going to come with more and more games. But he's got the game intelligence to be able to just switch up his game. And he hasn't switched it up too much. If anything, he's probably saved his legs that bit more because, like you say, he's able to step out when he feels like he needs to step out. But then also he keeps a solid back three, and his passing from out on the back is something that, if that's the way we're looking to play over this next coming season or the next couple of seasons, it's needed.
As you said, with things building up over a number of years and just clicking together now, who's taken that? Well, you said already of some players, but who's taken that real step forward into this season to improving to previous?
Like again, it's like Mickey. You're always going to get Mickey is going to be solid. You know what you're going to get. You're going to get like 40 odd games, 50 odd games a season now with Mickey. Some better than others, but you're going to get more better than you are bad games. Matty Dolan has stepped up in a whole new entire role. Like you say, there's so many who have been here. Like you see, Podrick probably has taken a bit, like not of a step back, but like you can't deny what Tristan and the likes of Seiko have done when they've played. But the minute Podge comes back in, he shows his goal scoring exactly what he's been doing over the last couple of years. So when you see the strength and depth that we've got, but I think for the lads who have like stepped up to the plate and kind of incorporated all these new lads in, like you say, Mickey's been at the core of it, Matty's been at the core of it. We've got Scott Bennett, who's been here even longer than me, so he knows the ins and outs of the club and what it takes to be a success or be successful here. So with all that in and around, new people coming in and people trying to get like into the group, it keeps us like at a really tight knit group. And like you say, it's all coming together really nicely.
You mentioned the Tristan Abrahams. Just how much potential do you think he has as a player?
I think Tristan could go as far as he wanted. Like that's not me just because I get on really well with Tristan. It's when he first came here, he probably got a bit frustrated because, like you say, we played a bit more direct, so things weren't going into his feet. He had to pick up on scraps and just had to like basically run till he couldn't run anymore. But now he's playing more games and he's learning a lot more, where his positioning is much better, his first time finishing is much better, and his work rate has always been second to none. Like the one thing you can't fault him for, and the reason he's getting the success he's getting right now, is you see him, he'll chase from the centre back to the goalkeeper, out to the full back, and then he'll chase back with a full back the full length of the pitch to make a tackle, and then turn around and try and make a run up the channel to go on a counter attack. And sometimes you can't teach people to do stuff like that. That's just something that comes naturally to people. And for him to have that, he has the potential, I think, for if he keeps continuing on the path he's on, he can go to levels above and beyond, I think.
And a bit about the playoff final now. How do you think the squad this season, so obviously they're flying, how do you think the squad compares from this season to the playoff final squad?
It's tough to put a finger on it because I think in the playoff final, we had a real closeness as a group. Like we still have a closeness now, but the group that we had then, because we didn't have much go our way and we were always playing catch up and we were always known as the dogged team that nobody likes to play. We were a battling side and we just like to kick lumps out of people. And people always doubted us when they said, oh, when we see a bit of grass, we're not going to be a good team. And we had all that going against us. But because we were the team that kind of creeped in right at the end of the season at Morecambe away, where we needed Exeter to drop some points, and we just like snuck into the top 7. I think we always had that inner belief in the changing room, and we were a tight-knit group where everyone fought for each other. And then on the flip side of that, it's kind of the same formula that we've got going on right now, but I do think we have a bit more creativity about us now with the likes of Scott Twine, and we've just signed Jamie Devitt. You've got Robbie Wilmot, you've got Tristan. You've got Seiko. Like, we have all these players that have that bit more. Like you see with Scott Twine over the last while. Like, he'll pick a ball up from 25 yards and put it in top corner.
Yeah.
And it's been a while since we've had a couple of players that can maybe just turn a game on its head and shoot from 25 yards and just put it in top corner. And like you say, it's all just coming together where the group is back being a tight-knit group, but also we've got that bit of individual brilliance that can just win you a game on the toss of a coin.
In the build-up to that playoff final, did you prepare for it differently as a squad or yourself personally? How did you deal with preparing for such a big game?
Like, there's not much you can do. You just know it's a cup final. It's a once-off game. It's like when we go into the FA Cup games. They're a once-off game. If you give it your all, then you turn around and say all you can do is give it your best. So we done everything as proper as we could. We travelled up. We stayed in a hotel overnight. Had like a good night's sleep. Done everything that we were like asked to do as a professional footballer. But it's just one of them things. On the day, if you turn up, you've got a great chance. If you don't turn up, you're going to get turned over. So all you have to do is give it your all. So I don't think that we changed any ways of playing or of what we done. We just treated it like every other game because, like you say, there's no point in making it such a bigger target in your head, because if you do that and then build up the pressure yourselves, you're more likely to probably crumble under the pressure than you are to just say, wait, it's another game. We've played them twice already. We've got good results, right? Go out and let's give it our best.
And obviously, when you're old, you can tell your grandkids that you captained the football team in a cup final at Wembley. Not many players can say that. So, what was actually like the experience of playing at Wembley in front of thousands of Newport fans? What was the experience like? What was the day like for you?
Like, in all fairness, like, obviously it didn't turn out how I wanted it to turn out, but I also think the way it was, like the whole build up and like making it in on the last day of the season to make it to the playoffs, and then you play Mansfield in a double leg, and then the feeling after that, and then you're thinking, right, Wembley, and it was a proud moment to walk out as a captain and be proud of walking out captain in the lads that, like, because we had a changing room of like proper men, that to be a captain of that and to kind of feel proud of what I'm doing. And like I say, obviously it didn't turn out the way I wanted it to turn out, and things didn't quite happen the way it should have happened. But like I say, the day in itself, that was football in a nutshell. You go from a high of everything going great in the game, and then such a low where it just finishes how it did. But you have to take the good with the bad, and for me, it's a memory I'll never forget.
Yeah, for me, in the playoff final, I was there in Newport, and obviously, I thought you were very lucky, and we probably should have had a pen. I had good chances. What was your looking back on it? What was your opinion on the game then?
My opinion on the game was what I thought would have happened. We kind of, all that season when we played them away from home and we played them at home, we were two sides that just cancelled each other out. We've had the same game plan, we had the same kind of players, and we always cancelled each other out. So when everyone was going on about that striker, he scored all these goals, he didn't score a single goal against us in the season. So we weren't really thinking to ourselves, all right, we're going to have to be careful with Norwood up front. But like you say, we kind of knew it was going to be a tight final, like any final would be. But we knew playing against Tranmere that were two teams that cancel each other out. But I thought over the 90 minutes, even the 120 minutes, the least we deserved was penalties, maybe, to have a 50-50 chance of going to League One. And when you watch the game back, I think we had the better chances and we did have the better play. And it was just unfortunate the way it unfolded. And maybe that's a sign of it wasn't our year, and it's one of them things that maybe it wasn't our day. But now you look a year and a half, 2 years down the line from that, we've got a squad together that can go on and potentially do one better and get a promotion place and do it automatically. But like you say, when it is early days, you've got to kind of just take each game as it comes. And so far, so good for this season. It looks like that there's a good remedy happening in the change room that can progress us back to those like successful days.
You mentioned with the new squad now and how they could mount another serious challenge. What did you think of the rebuild after that final? Like, what did the team do well to rebuild?
In all fairness, there wasn't really much. I think as a manager, I think we were more, and as players, we were more concerned of when teams were seeing little old Newport make a playoff final, and obviously we didn't get promoted. You think that bigger teams are going to come along and just be like chess pieces and just pick us off one by one, and people will move on, and then you're basically starting from scratch again, which thankfully that didn't happen. So we were able to keep, and like I include myself in that, I was able to stay, Mickey stayed, Benno stayed, Jama stayed, and all people like this were staying along. And it was unfortunate to lose the likes of Dan Butler and Joe Day, but when they get the offers that they got, you can't dispute like the reasons why they left. You can't fault them for it because they had an amazing season. But I think for last season it was kind of right. It's probably going to be a bit of an up and down season. We knew the expectation was going to be high from the previous season of making a playoff final, but we kind of knew it's a transition year of, right, we lost one or two of our main players, right, let's try and rebuild that back. And like you say, it's at that happening now, another season later, and you see the players that we brought in, and we have Ryan Haynes, we've got Liam Shepherd, you have Coops who's come in, but we still have David Long King who's coming back from injury, we still have Kyle Hawkins, and you still have Mickey and Matty. And like you say, we've just added in areas, and the strength and depth that we've got now, like you say, if someone was to drop out or someone was to get injured, right, if you were to say one of the midfielders was to get injured, right, you've got Robbie Wilmot to come on, and you can't turn around and say that that's a bad substitution to have. If Seiko got injured like he did on the weekend, you have Podge to come in. So like, I think the whole building process has been perfect, whereas I think we're back to that stage of having a really great changing room, and along with that we have men who are wanting to play, so there's competition there constantly. And like you say, I think by the end of the season, or as the season goes on, we're only just going to grow in more and more confidence, and there's going to get more and more competition. And like you say, competition is always a good sign to have for when you're trying to have a successful season.
You've previously mentioned FA Cup games and runs that you've had in that. What is it like playing against those top level sides in the country, and the difference between them and the usual EFL sides?
It's a strange one, because like when you do think back, or you look back at the games that we have played in, and I always look back at them now, even more so now that I'm retired. It's strange because when you go into them kind of games, people don't give you the backing that you think you're going to get. People just think, right, it's going to be a Middlesbrough win, it's going to be a Leicester win, Newport will give it their all, but Leicester's quality will shine through. Like when we play Leeds are going to be the better side. Like in the maddest way possible, we still had in our own heads a glimmer of hope that we were going to beat Manchester City. And I know people were laughing at the time, but we had this confidence about us that we thought to ourselves, you know what? Like, it was just one of them seasons that you thought, right, they're coming down to Rodney, it's going to be raining, the pitch isn't going to be nice. And in hindsight, we should have went 1-0 up in the game. So if you go 1-0 up in that game, you're thinking to yourself, well, what might have happened after that? Now, you don't know if you might have angered Man City and they would have came out and beat you 10-1, but we should have been 1-0 up, and we were 0-0 at half-time with the best team in the country. So there isn't much of a difference. It's more about the concentration side of things, I think. I think it's more of the movement that are a bit sharper, or the way they think is a bit sharper, or you can't give that person, like if someone's in the midfield or someone's out wide, you can't give them that half a yard of space, or if you're marking somebody in the box, you can't give them that half a yard to think, he's never going to reach them from there, because they have that quality to reach them. And I think that's the kind of difference to where they play at a higher intensity, where we play 3 games a week nearly all season. It's nearly Saturday, Tuesday. So if we were to play a game at a lesser tempo against a team like that, we could handle it. But the fact that they play at a higher intensity than what we do in the lower leagues, it kind of shows in your legs as the game goes on. So when you match Man City for the first 45, they come out feeling okay for the second half, where you come out feeling a bit, oh, hang on a second, like I just sprinted around for 45 minutes, I haven't really done that. And that's the only kind of difference. So when we have had a success, it's because we have been regimented, our concentration has been perfect. And like you say, you almost have to have the perfect game to get them kind of results. So when the lads played Newcastle this season, they had a perfect game. They had Newcastle on the back foot. But then, like you say, you give John O'Shelby that one small half a yard and he puts it in top corner. Like, they're the slight differences that that you do notice over the coming years. And I noticed it when, obviously, at the time when I played in the Championship with Derby, like you kind of you see the step up, you see the different like types of quality. Where in League Two you're going to get a striker that will chase every last lost cause, but you'll get a Championship striker that won't chase a lost cause, but his movement will be so sharp, he'll chase something that he has a feeling he'll get onto, or you have to be wary of him in the box. I was only speaking with Matty the other day because he was speaking about a striker like we've just recently played against, and said he non-stop moves. And I said, like, it's crazy. I said, when I was at Derby and I played against Blackpool and he had Kevin Phillips, and I said he never moved a muscle outside the box. But the minute he's inside the box, 1 minute you see him and the next minute he's on the back of your shoulder, like, and if you miss the ball, he's slotting it in. And that's the kind of difference of the cup games, where you kind of have to have a near on perfect game to have that chance of being successful in it, because any little lack of concentration, any slip up, they have the quality to just capitalise on it.
I remember seeing an interview with Neil Warnock when Cardiff played Man City in the Cup a couple of years ago, when they said that for the week leading up to the game, they didn't train with a ball, they just trained chasing a paper bag around. And it led me to thinking, did your team's preparation change when facing those big teams, or were you thinking, well, if we just play our game, maybe we can nick something?
No, like it did kind of change, because you do have to be more wary. But at the same time, we were getting these opportunities to play against these teams for how well we were doing. So we also had to concentrate on how well we were doing and what we were doing for ourselves as a build-up to those games. Because we knew, even going into the Tottenham game, going into play against Leeds, and even going into play against Leicester, we knew if we implement our game onto them and make them feel uncomfortable, like not adapt and give them all the time in the world and respect them and let them have the ball, if we put them under pressure and chase things and be on top of them and, like you say, put pressure on them, we have to see how they react then, because they wouldn't be used to a League Two side week in, week out. So, like, they're the ones that are under the more pressure coming down to a League Two side. So we know going into a game, if we play how we play, we have every confidence that we can get a result against anybody. And like you say, we were lucky enough to have these cup runs and memories to look back on. But also for the future players that have come in now, they're all wanting a bit of a cup run. So you see them beating Watford, and there's hardly anyone speaking about it, but you're beating a Championship side. You beat Swansea, and it's like it's expected. You play against Newcastle, and we should have beat Newcastle. So that's the kind of order we created around here. But it's not that, it's not known as a cup upset anymore. It's what people are expecting from us now. And now the new lads that have come in, they're wanting a bit of history to do stuff like that. They want to do well in the cups. So like you say, it's something that, like, we don't change how we play, because we're the underdogs. We go into the game with no pressure on your shoulders, and like we always say, it's a free hit at a game. It's a free hit to challenge yourself against players that are playing in the Premier League. And you more have the enjoyment of doing that than you do feeling the pressure, so you don't change anything.
As you said on the and the no pressure, how much does that really boost the morale and the momentum when you do get good cup results?
Oh, like, it helps massively. Like, don't get me wrong, sometimes it can hinder what goes on in the league, because you put so much effort into a Tottenham game, you put so much effort into playing Middlesbrough at home, to know you're playing Man City, to play Leicester's, like you do put a lot of effort in. So if you do have a game in the league coming up on the Tuesday or the Saturday, the manager might have to look at it and go, right, I need to freshen things up, or I need to like rest him, or like, and it can hinder. But that's why I was thinking this season has something slightly different about it, because we've got a squad of 25, 27 lads who all could play in a starting 11. So if we did have these cup runs, we've got, like, I've named them all, like majority of them already, but if you played Mickey, Matty and Brandon in one game and one or two of them got tired, you have Kyle Hawkins, David Long King, Mickey and people like that to drop in. If you have Josh Labadie, Josh Sheehan and Twine coming out, then you have Jamie Devitt to come in, Robbie Wilmot, Scott Bennett. And then if you have Tristan who drops out, Seiko drops out, you've got Podge, Proctor, Ryan Taylor. So they're all players that you look at now and think, right, if we did have one of these cup runs, it shouldn't hinder much, because we've got all starting 11 lads chomping to get in that could play in any other team, but that like looking to get into our squad, which, as I said, it's a recipe for such like good success that could happen this season. But you don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, but also at the same time, it's hard not to see the progression that we've made over the last couple of years. That's been amazing.
As a player, what is your personal favourite FA Cup memory?
Oh, I think my favourite FA Cup memory was the second game against Middlesbrough, knowing we were going to be playing Man City. Like, because we were going into that game, and as the manager always says, like, it's like a dangling carrot there in front of you, lads. You know what's the next round. You know what's going to be happening. So it's up to you. If you just want to play Man City, go out and beat Middlesbrough. And it was put so simple when you're thinking, right, I still need a 90 minutes. Like, because when the draw came out, everyone was sitting there going, oh, it could be Man City next round. And everyone was kind of forgetting, right, we still have to get through Middlesbrough, which is a championship side. So, like, we couldn't lose track of the fact of thinking, right, we need to beat Middlesbrough. Like, some people in their minds were taking it as a given. Oh, if we get Middlesbrough back down at Rodney Parade, we'll beat them. But we still had to beat Middlesbrough. So that kind of game in itself, everything came together. Like, the lads, like, fought as hard as they could. We played football when we could. Two great finishes by Robbie and Podge. And then, like, it's easy to say, but more like another great one was actually captaining the side to walk out against Manchester City. Like, it felt so surreal to think I was playing in a game like that. Because I'll never forget when you have to do the captain's handshake at the beginning and go into the referee's room. We were waiting on Man City's captain to come out. So we were kind of standing there, and me and the assistant Hats, we were kind of just sitting there to ourselves, and we were standing thinking, oh, I wonder who's going to come out. Like, will it be Otamendi or will it be the goalkeeper? Like, just because they're changing it up. And then all of a sudden he goes, oh, we get the captain now. And as they walk back out, David Silva follows them. And we kind of just looked at each other thinking, these are going strong today, surely. So I'm standing in the captain's room, standing next to David Silva. But I'm just kind of standing there thinking, this can't be real that I'm like going out to play a game against this fella. And then, like you say, we go into the changing room and the manager like writes up their starting 11, and they look at the team sheet and they kind of start laughing as in to say, yeah, lads, you're in for a tough one today. So then he started out like Ederson in goal, and then it went right back to Danilo, John Stones, Otamendi and Zivchenko. So we thought, all right, they've gone with a strong back four, so they've gone with a few starters. Then we seen Fernandinho, David Silva, Phil Foden, and we thought, all right. And then we seen Mahrez, Sané and Jesus up top, and we were like, hang on a second, these have gone full strength. And then we seen that bench, Kevin De Bruyne, Raheem Sterling, Kyle Walker, Gundogan and Bernardo Silva. And we're looking thinking, these was just brought down a full starting 11 that would start in the Premier League next week. But then, obviously, I think it was Robbie at the time cracked a joke, because as they were writing out the team, and we were like, oh my God. Robbie just, like, as he does, has a little joke and turned around and goes, yeah, lads, you think they're writing our squad up and they're going to Robbie Wilmot on the wing? Oh, this is going to be a tough game, lads. Like, so we all just started laughing about it, because it was one of them moments where you thought, if you can't enjoy this as a player, there's no point being a player. Like, we needed to enjoy it for what it was, because nobody gave us a hope in hell. But in our changing room, in the group that we had, we always had that slight glimmer to think, lads, we could be onto something big here. We can create history to what we've already been doing. And when you're coming in at half time and you're 0-0 against Manchester City, you're thinking, just all those little things. So like between the Middlesbrough game and the Man City game have to be like my highlight of playing in an FA Cup.